So I was thinking about today being Vision Sunday, and sometimes in life our vision gets a little blurry and cloudy, doesn't it? So I want you to think about this. Here's a question for us to start with. I want you to ponder on just for a moment. Whenever life gets stressful or hectic, whenever your schedule seems packed out busy and you've got so much going on, what would you say is generally the first thing that suffers in your life? Everybody think about it. Everybody gets to do this. You have to do this. Even if you're a kid and you stayed in, you get to do this. What is the first thing that suffers? Could be schoolwork if you're in college or school. Could be relationships. It could be groceries, right? Trying to find time to go to the grocery store. Maybe your house or your room becomes even messier. Or maybe whenever stress gets really hard and your vision isn't very clear what's going on around you, maybe if you're like me, your relationship with the Lord can tend to struggle and stress because you seem so busy and so tired at times that finding time to spend with Him or pray just like, oh, I know I need to do that, but I've got to, ... right? Somebody relate? Yeah. Well, I was thinking about our service today quite a bit, and I've been looking forward to it because you're going to get to meet some people, some steps we're taking as far as New Heights growth in our leadership, and we're going to have a panel. You've probably seen these stools up here, and some of you see that. It's like, great, we don't have to listen to Jason Kelly speak forever, and that's good. It's a positive thing. So we're going to have not just one, there'll be 5 of us you get to hear from today. So get comfortable. I'm just kidding. So I was thinking about our scripture today, and I'm going to read it. If you have your Bible, find Matthew chapter 22. Matthew 23. Nope, just kidding. 22, thank you. It's in the bulletin, it's correct. And if you have a bulletin, you actually have a fill in the blank today, so that's it. That'll be something new for you today. So Matthew chapter 22, 36, but before we get there, I thought about this. Jesus not only had something to say, Jesus has something to say. Did you guys catch that? I'm going to say it again. Jesus not only had something to say, Jesus has something to say. And in 22 verse 36, Matthew, some of the great teachers of the law, most religious folks of this day, come up to Jesus and they just pose a question to him. It says, teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? You know, asking Jesus questions are really good. How many of you guys were here in February, maybe it was January or February, whenever we did the corporate-wide fast? You guys, anybody remember being a part of that? Somebody like, never again. Somebody like, that was really hard. Well, since that time, I felt like the Lord has really laid upon my heart to have a more consistent habit and pattern of fasting in my life. And I agreed, and I was more of than I think whenever I was sharing that as far as us corporately, and I feel like we should do that again in the next month or so, which some of you guys are like, tell me this Sunday that happens and we'll be out of town. But other of you will like to be a part of that. But it is hard because it's hard to deny ourselves something. I used to do the sun up to sundown thing, and the Lord's like, I really want to see a 24. I felt like He was pulling me that, and then longer and longer and longer, and we don't have to get into that. But recently, the Lord called me to an extended fast, and He put some people in my path who really helped me know I needed to do that. And I was really reluctant to step into an extended fast. It doesn't matter how long, that kind of stuff. But I did, again, reluctantly, and it was hard, just straight up hard. I started on a Sunday, and by Tuesday I was like, this is odd. Wow, I don't know that I've got it in me to complete what I felt like the Lord was asking me to do. So you guys know where Fisher Ford is? The water park out there. Illinois River, out by Fisher Ford. Thank you, Carlson. Excellent. What would I ever do without you? So I decided to go out there just to try to clear my head, to try to refocus because I was struggling hardcore and I couldn't really hear. So I'm gonna do my best to tell this quickly. So I'm sitting in my car because I thought on a Tuesday the Fisher Ford would be quiet, but the Rogers Fire Department were out there doing drills in the river, rescuing each other, and I'm like, good grief, of all the places and days. So I kind of stayed over here, and I was like, God, I feel like my vision's cloudy. I feel like I've committed something to you that I'm not going to be able to. I just feel like a just all-around kind of 100% loser at that time. So I get back in my car because it's kind of windy or whatever, and I'm sitting there, and it's warm, and I go to sleep. like any good follower of Jesus would do, right, Peter? And then I just wake up and I'm like, oh no, I'm even worse because I slept. And the Lord's like, will you just calm down? So I just prayed, Lord, I really want to know that I'm hearing from you. And I sat there in silence, feeling broken, feeling weak. And I am a firm believer that God speaks to us the way he knows we hear best. And I'm a very visual person, and God knows that about me because he made me that way. And so God spoke to me sitting out there on that Tuesday, mid-morning, late morning, in three very tangible ways, and I just want to share them with you. But before I share them, I learned something really cool about God several years ago, that he's a speaker. Remember what I said a while ago? Jesus not only had something to say, he has something to say. In fact, God made everything, the world he made, everything you see by speaking it into being. God said. You guys know that? And so God is very much a speaker, and he has words he wants to speak to us. And for me personally, when I get stressed out or busy or cloudy in my vision, I fail to just listen for God. And it was a 2-hour ordeal setting out at Fisher Ford a few weeks back, trying to get clear enough to hear from God. So I'm like, God, I just really want to hear from you. So again, I'm a visual hearer. Some of you aren't. Some of you are. Some of you really appreciate this. Others are going to be like, what is wrong with this guy? But that's okay. This is the truth. So I'm sitting there and I hear black car, shiny wheels. And I'm like, good Lord, what is wrong with me? About this time, if you've ever been out there, I'm in the parking lot in the new bridge that goes up over the Illinois River. It's not very traveled. It's not a lot of traffic out there. Would you know a black car with very shiny wheels goes up and crosses over the bridge? I'm like, okay, you got one ear. That could be a coincidence, but whatever. Okay, Lord, I'm feeling a little softer in my heart. I'm feeling like I want to hear a little bit more. And then I hear white pickup. And I'm thinking, oh, it's about to be really cool, you know. So I'm sitting there and a white pickup drives by and crosses over. And I'm like, okay, got them all ears. And then he immediately showed me this cool picture in my head. You guys ever seen a busy highway where maybe it's in a city or something and the cityscape is clear, but then the traffic on the road's like a blur? You guys know what I'm talking about? Try to get that visual in your head. That's exactly what I saw. And God spoke so clearly. He said, Jason, I've called you to be a lane placer. Specifically, I've called you to help people get in their lanes that I've designed them for. And I've called you to do that not only in your personal life and in your life, but also as a leader at New Heights Church. And I didn't know that's specifically what I was listening for, but that's specifically what the Lord had to say to me, and he spoke it to me in such an incredibly gentle way, perfect way, because I'm visual. And so these people, they go up to Jesus and they want to hear from him as well, except their motives aren't quite as pure, hopefully as ours would be as we want to hear from Jesus. They say, teacher, what's the greatest command? And then Jesus says this, love the Lord your God with all your heart. You guys have heard this. And with all your soul and with all your mind. Verse 38, this is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. Jesus says everything is summed up in these. These people, just a little more teaching, and then we're going to move on to our panel. These most religious folks of Jesus' day had a mere 613 do's and don'ts to be able to be right. Can you even imagine? It's hard enough to get these two right. Can you imagine having 613 that you wake up each day toiling? Talk about a cobweb mess of trying to be right with God. But if we're honest, as we try to have vision, as we try to hear from God, we really complicate it with our own do's and don'ts, don't we? So this morning is Vision Sunday, and our mission statement at New Heights is simple, and it comes from Matthew 22. And if you have your bulletin there's some fill in the blanks. Our mission statement is this: love God, blank is passionately. It's on the front, 2 of the bulletin. It's already filled in. And love people tangibly. That's the great commandment. So it's been called love God passionately and love people tangibly. So I was thinking through this to answer the question is, how do I personally love God passionately? Well, I give up what I want freely. I give him my desires. I have a lot of things I would like. a lot of things I would like to do and have. But running those through God through a passionate love. And then loving people tangibly. That's not looking out just for your own needs. You know one of the hardest places for me to love people tangibly is? Walmart parking lot. That's just the bottom line. You guys have been there. You know what it's like. It's hard to love people tangibly in that parking lot. But I think that's part of what Jesus was saying, not where it's just easy. Something else Jesus taught there, and its mission and it's our vision of New Heights Church, is it's impossible to love God passionately if you aren't loving people tangibly. Your love of God passionately will lead into loving people tangibly, and your love of people tangibly will lead into loving God passionately. Isn't that cool how that works? And Jesus knew that. That's why he threw it out there to him. So we've making some growth steps. New Heights has been, we're in our third year as a church. This is I'm about a year and a half in and honored to be serving here. God has grown this place in such amazing ways. Our community groups, our gospel communities meet throughout the week, and that's exciting. We've got some cool office space going in downtown. It's too bad that we didn't have restrooms this weekend. We could have hosted thousands of people at Dogwood Festival walking down. We just weren't quite ready yet. So I don't know what the Lord's going to do with that space. What I do want to tell you about that space is going to be called The Bridge. This comes from some of our college students' ideas. New Heights offices at the Bridge, Potter's House kind of office at the Bridge, Global Outfitters will be at the Bridge, and whatever else the Lord wants to do there in order to bridge the fellowships in Siloam Springs. It's going to be super exciting, so I can't wait to see what that is. Today, for the rest of our time, you're going to get to meet some people that are on our leadership team with help from New Heights Fayetteville. Lee Epstein, he's one of the directional leaders at Fayetteville. He's our elder. Specifically for New Heights Siloam Springs, and he will be in as we make steps to become a self-sustaining church, which we're making strides by becoming financially self-supportive, which is exciting. Thank you for continuing to give. That's awesome. And putting a leadership team together that will turn into elders. And so with New Heights' help last year, praying through where do we start, and I want to first I'll say there are so many qualified men in this room that could be elders. And that is exciting because we have places we grow to. A starting point we have is 3 that are elders. And then also I'm going to have Chris Borkert, our community guy. So Stephen, Mark, and Jason, if you guys will join me, and Chris down here, you guys are going to get to meet New Heights Siloam Springs elders. And you probably know Chris, our community guy. He speaks. You definitely know Jason Linker. Jason's going to give a little background of how New Heights Siloam came about. Simply for some of you who may not know. All right, guys, get over it. Have a seat. Hello, boys. I actually feel like Steven should be closest to me. So I can just pop him in the back of the head. All right, have a seat. You guys get comfortable. I'm going to hand you the mic, Jason. Okay, so what we want to do now, again, is this is our initial leadership team. These 3 here are in the works to become elders. Part of New Heights DNA is kind of dating a little bit, if you will, to see if that's a good fit for them, a good fit for us. We're nearing the end of that process. And my hope is we can put a ring on it, so to speak. So we'll see how that goes. Good steps of growth. So Jason, let's start with Jason Linker, Dr. Linker here. And if you will, introduce yourself, kind of your family. There's a picture up there of you guys. And then, Jason, if you will, too, talk about, the startup of New Heights.
Okay. I'm Jason Lanker. I was here from the start of New Heights here in Siloam and was part of the plant because living in this area for about 10 years, had just seen a lot of great congregations, but looking at and being part of those congregations wasn't seeing a lot of interaction between the different congregations that God has here in Siloam. And so just really had a heart to see more of that connective bridge type concept that we're trying to move towards. The other was to really find a place. I teach at the university, so wanted to find a place where college students couldn't just attend, but could really find a real part of what's going on. Getting to see Nathan, Theo, Jake, just first people who came to my mind. They have jumped in, and not only are they serving, but they're influencing how we're doing ministry here. Yeah. And that's what the church has been throughout centuries, is it's been about finding people as part of that fellowship, using their gifts, not based on age or gender, but going ahead and saying, hey, you know what, you have an important role here. Where is it? Where could you find that? So that's kind of what started us. Perfect. And I've been just thrilled to serve with my family and to be part of this process.
Okay, so wife Heather.
Yeah, you guys can stand in the back if they're back there. Did they leave?
They don't have to.
So they're back. My daughter came in. She just came in. That's my daughter Madison. She just came in from serving back in the children's ministry, and so being able to find she loves kids, and my other daughter does as well, and so they're back there all the time doing all that. So just
and if you've seen their cool space downtown, Brick Ballroom, yes. Little plug here. That's Heather's. You got to get in there and check that place out. It's really cool. Yeah, sweet. Or follow it on Facebook, right? Shameless plug. She's like, right, thumbs up, thumbs up. Okay. All right, so Jason Lenker, like you said, he's been here from the get-go, which is exciting to work with this guy. Jason and I have known each other for 12 years probably, way back to early days of us both being in Siloam Springs and talking youth ministry, and it's just cool to see how the Lord's put us together to serve. So, okay, next up, Mark Hansen.
So that's my crew there. My wife, Tiff, Kyra, Kaden, Ruth, and Keegan. You can stand, I guess, if you want, to keep the trend going. I think Ruth is serving in the back today, but the others are all there.
There we go.
There you go. 1 out of 5 ain't bad. So, yes, I guess a little bit of just our story here. We came here really early in 2017, and I've just been thinking about it this week. A couple of the things that I love about our body is that it's messy, and I thought that the first week that we walked in here, and I mean that in a really good, beautiful way. I think if we're all honest, we're all messy. God did a pretty significant work in our lives as a family years ago in a community where we really just awakened to the beauty of the gospel in a fresh way. And I think part of that goes with understanding your own messiness. And the more the depth that we understand that, we understand the depth of God's incredible love for us. And so when we can actually be a community that can understand that we're messy, we begin to understand a little more the depth of who God is and the kingdom and just the beauty of that. So I think we were drawn instantly as part of that it just wasn't this polished place. And people were broken and could find hope and healing in that. And then I love that, and I know Chris, a couple of months ago taught, and I loved the ways, that Jesus promised us that road is narrow and that road is hard, and then we get surprised when it's hard. But that's what God calls us to. And I love that we are a church community that doesn't run from hard. That we choose hard in the middle of a culture that worships easy, and our hearts that worship easy, and are oriented towards that selfishly, but yet we want to be a people that, in a church body, that would choose the hard things and go into the hard places, and I've seen that, and it's been part of our family's just love of New Heights, and hopefully as we just continue to grow and move forward, that we'll choose those hard places and those hard roads, and not run from them, because I think that's where we meet God in the middle of it, and in a world that looks at people that choose hard, I think have to ask what's inside of them, because that doesn't make sense. And that's the beauty of who God is in us. So,
good. If you guys recognize the voice, 90.9, yeah, anyway, listen in the morning, you'll hear this guy. Another shameless plug, good Lord. I'm just going to be quiet over here.
Yeah, I have to follow the radio voice guy. Great. So this is my clan here, one of which is married in. So my daughter, you guys have to stand up. Let's stand up, all of you. There you are. My wife, Holly, my eldest daughter, Annika, and her husband, James. We'll claim him. And my son is a senior in high school, and my daughter, Rin, who is in 5th grade. Thank you for obliging and standing up. So, I really, just to build on what has already been said, this place is really a bridge. We talked about it being a messy bridge, I guess, and it's an active bridge. I think that the thing we've been coming here since 2017, early in the year as well, and have had a great experience. We have lived in Siloam a long time. 100 years ago, I went to John Brown. So warning to some of you John Brown students, some of you will get stuck here, but it's a good thing. And having been here a long time, I think that a lot of great fellowships and places where God's being proclaimed and loved and acted upon, but we felt called here for a lot of the same reasons that have already been mentioned. It's a place that acts as a bridge between a lot of different areas, gets involved. I think that as a family, as a fellowship, what draws us here is it's not a passive experience. This is church is not, in case you aren't aware, for those of us that proclaim to be followers of Christ, church is not a passive experience. It is not a spectator sport. I love and / hate the fact that we have to clean up these chairs every day. We meet in a cafeteria. This is not a passive experience for us as followers of Christ, and our lives should not reflect a passivity, but an active. Those of you, I coach soccer. I'm involved. I'm not passive generally about things, and I think that as a church and as a body, what we need to be, what I was drawn to and what I'm continuing to see is just a real active faith when we talk about loving God passionately and loving others tangibly. So really excited about that. I think we're at the beginnings of that. We're figuring it out. I share the sentiment that it's sort of messy and clumsy at times, and we don't always get it right, and we have young people and older people and all kinds of different things, and it's that's life, and that's the way it's best, and I think God shows up in those moments in really, really powerful ways. So I'm excited to be here, thankful, and that's a little bit of why we're here. Is that good, Annika? All right, thanks.
What a good daughter. All right, so Chris Borkert is our community pastor, and end of last summer, we were thinking about, what do we do? Who do we hire next? What do we need to do as far as grow the way we feel like the Lord's given New Heights vision to grow as a fellowship here in Siloam Springs? And it was hands down in our community. Being a Sunday, not really just a Sunday morning church, because we're not just that, because, well, if you came up here this time tomorrow, you would not be sitting where you are, and this would be chaotic. It'd be lunchtime, wouldn't it? This would be chaotic this time tomorrow. And so we're certainly not just a Sunday morning church. And so we felt confident, rather than our initial hires to be trying to build student ministry or children's ministry, which those are really, really important. We're not saying they're not, but we agreed our next greatest move was that, which would bolster community. And somebody said, are we getting it right? Not all the time. Are we getting it right some of the time? I think so. And so, Chris, I wanted you to be a part of this. We wanted you to be a part of this, and just share quickly, what is your vision as far as community goes inside New Heights?
Yeah, that's my crew up there. When Stephanie heard she may have to stand up, she decided not to come this morning.
She showed you.
No, it's been really challenging, but really joyful to have the bandwidth to come on board this past fall and serve as community pastor. And like has been mentioned, you guys are going to probably realize right away that we don't have all the answers, and we don't, so we're not going to say we do. And so community, developing that has really, like, what does that look like for the life of the local church? How do we move people past kind of these blocky rhythms of we go to church on Sunday, maybe we go to a Bible study during the week, and we just try our best in between. And really trying to move away from kind of that view of church, which is easy to fit that in the schedule. But what does it look like to really begin to share life day in and day out with a similar group of people? And so really our vision is community is obedience in the everyday, and we do that by walking in relationship with each other. So that means we can't all do it together. It means we need to have smaller groups of people that are sharing life together, and in that process, not to overcomplicate it, are these lives, are we pointing one another to Jesus? And so one of the things I've begun to think of is when I interact or meet with something and walk away, the question I just started thinking, like, I want to ask this every time I meet with our group or with an individual, is in that conversation, in that space, in that time, were we able to stir one another's affections for Jesus? And I think that's a great just kind of place to think about community. Community should be a place that we're gathering in a lot of different settings. We don't want to narrow it to your GC time during the week because it's far greater and bigger than that. But are we doing life in such a way that we're challenging, equipping, and encouraging one another to walk in this daily obedience? And so that's our vision for community, and that's a challenging thing for us to take on, and it's something that we can't do. And so figuring out, too, what does it look like for us as New Heights to be a place, a church, a family that is figuring out what does it look like to daily walk in greater dependency upon the Holy Spirit in order to do the things that he's asked us to do. And so we're trying to figure out what that looks like. How do you kind of organize that? How do you sort of program/structure that, but maintain it to be relational and vibrant and effective to all the different scenarios and different things that we interact with on a day-to-day basis. They don't fit in cute little boxes. And so I feel that's what God's calling us as a people here at New Heights. And I believe that he's beginning to do that work. And so we're going to continue to lean into him and trust him and seek his wisdom and ask for the power to be obedient day to day as we walk this out.
That's good. And as we're learning in community as well, life gets busy and it's hard to make meetings week after week after week. That's one of the challenges, I think, of living and doing life together is actually getting people in those same rhythms as you. So you can't meet a group of, what are you doing? Let's go whatever together. And Chris is doing a really good job of trying to help us all sort that out, really challenge me. Jason, I want to ask you, if you'll talk about and then I'll give you the heads up for here on out, if you talk about like New Heights kind of qualification for elders, what that looks like for us. And then Mark, I'm going to have you answer, what is the most exciting thing for you as you think about being an elder in New Heights? And then Stephen, I'm going to have you answer, what is the most challenging thing you can think of being in the role of elder? You're welcome. Okay.
Well, talking about kind of elders overall, I just want to put something out there. The reason why we're sitting up here this morning isn't so that we can sit up here and tell you all the things that New Heights needs to do. Right. We wanted to speak to you as people who have been just wrecked by Jesus, who he's called us to a vision that was bigger and grander and more confusing than what we knew how to put together. I was teaching full-time at JBU. I did not need another full-time job planting a church. That's not what I was looking for in my life. But God said, that's what I want you to do. This is what our community needs. And so I said, okay, I'll do that. I'll jump into that. These guys that are sitting here as potential elders, they're being asked to do more. If you get to know Stephen, as you get to know Mark, as you get to know their families, these guys have more than enough on their plate. And God said, no, I want you to consider that I have something special for you. And he may be speaking to he is speaking to all of us in this room. He's called us here for a reason. And so here on a Vision Sunday, we don't want you to sit passively and hear us talk about stuff in the church. We want you to sit there actively, asking God this whole time. That's great. That's great. God's doing that in his life. What the heck is he asking me to do? Where's my place in this? As I go back home for the summer, how do I maintain connection with the church and continue to give myself to it as I'm graduating and moving, literally, some of you across the globe? Where am I going? Why am I going there? What's my place in this? And that at the heart is what my role that I've moved into, being able to start more of a pastoral role, that's just where it needed to start. But what attracted me to New Heights, that is out in Fayetteville, and that I wanted to see it here, is that they truly are an elder-led church. And as elders throughout church history, there's the episcopos, there's the bishops, there's the presbytery, that they are there as servants. This is Jesus' vision. When he goes to say, this is what my church is all about, he got down on his knees and he washed their feet. And he said, my job is to get underneath you so that you can see up a little bit higher. You can stand a little bit more firmly so that you can step into the places that God's calling you to step into. Ephesians chapter 4, he's given some as apostles, some as prophets, some as pastor teachers, some as elders. Why? For the equipping of the saints for the work of service. It is not my job. It is not Jason's job or Chris's job to run this church. It is our job to empower this church. And as elders, our primary role is to use our gifts of teaching, to use our gifts of encouragement, counsel, whatever it is that God gives to us, to connect with you guys, to listen to you guys, and to be able to say, okay, this is what we're seeing God do in this congregation. How can we help foster this? And so that's what we're in this process of trying to walk through. I am in that role unless I get kicked out somehow, which could happen. But just kind of, it's a natural transition to me to move from that everyday pastoral role to more of this overview, behind the scenes, supportive elder role that works with Jason and works with Chris and works with the rest of you to see how do we help us as a body to accomplish more than what 5 of us could ever do or 15 of us could ever do, but that we could really see God's work expand and bridge into so many places that need his work.
That's good. Thank you.
That's really good. To probably just piggyback off of that, as far as what is exciting about what's ahead. One, I love the vision, the mission of New Heights, just the simplicity and both the depth of loving God passionately and loving people tangibly. I really think that we're serious about that. This isn't a place to just come and, Stephen said, to just passively show up to an event ran by professionals and then move on. But we want to be, as Jason said, that body that we're engaged and we find our places. So to me, that's what's exciting, because I look around this room and I see, man, there is so much, not only potential, but so much that's already happening of people that are serving and are, they have gifts that are being used. Last Sunday afternoon, as we were driving home, I was just thinking about, there was a little kind of volunteer appreciation lunch thing, which was just fun to see how many different people are serving in different ways. But I drove home and thought, next year, I really hope that's a church-wide luncheon. That it's that we're all getting together because we've all found our place to be able to serve, not just within our own body here, but then outside of the walls. I love that we have windows because it reminds us that this is just a place, right? The church is a people. And so we have a chance to find our place to serve, not within just New Heights, but within our own community of Siloam Springs and other places. And so if there's anything that excites me, it's the fact that God really is growing his kingdom and then is inviting every person that's sitting in a chair here to find their lane, as Jason said earlier, about and if we can in any way help you do that, then we've fulfilled a great part of what God would have us to do in serving. I think for most of us sitting up here is already awkward enough. We would just as soon be behind the scenes watching you do and be able to serve alongside with you with what God has for us. And maybe a year from now we can sit together and just celebrate the beauty of that and then look to what's ahead of that.
So I'm the what's difficult, or in addition to having to look up Greek and Hebrew words that Jason says in meetings that I have to pretend I know what they mean. No, just kidding. I think the one of the difficult aspects is remembering to stay just rooted in, what is God saying? Jason reminded us this morning. He's like, what is God saying? We're at a point in life where we've done some stuff. We've done some good stuff, some bad stuff, but we've done some things. And so it'd be easy, I think, for any person to get to a point, this is what works. This is how it works. We could just do that. We could run a church like every other church, I guess. We've been around that experience. And I think that a difficulty, but also I would probably say an exciting aspect is that we really need to stay grounded in what God is asking us to do as a fellowship, and to not be. We have a great DNA, as Jason has said many times, with New Heights Fayetteville and the things going on there. But we're not New Heights Fayetteville. We have our own DNA, and so staying really rooted in God's Word, in praying and seeking, and whether it's fasting or having those things, I think that. A real desire, and something that I would hope that as a church, big church, we hold ourselves to this standard of really just operating in what God has for us, not just going through the program. I think that that's a challenge for every fellowship, but I think particularly for us as we move forward. So I think that's a watch out or a challenge as we begin to form as a leadership team here. To not fall into the patterns of just, this is by the book, this is how we do it, but to lean into those things. What is God asking us to do? What is going to be different about it? Not just relying on our own understanding. We read that scripture this morning. So I think that may be where I would lean towards a challenge for us to keep moving and pressing into what God has for us.
That's good. Thank you. All right, so you can hold the mic. That's good. Give Chris a mic, and we'll see what happens. No, as far as Vision Sunday goes, there will be a time, sometime, whenever we say, okay, here's what children's ministry looks like. Here's the vision. Here's what student ministry looks like. Here's the vision. College ministry, all these things. But the truth is, we're not there yet. We're still very much trying to figure out what each of these opportunities to minister to people look like. And that can be frustrating to some, but it can be empowering and charge you up for others. And for me, I'm that type that enjoys it, but I'm going to be honest, there's sometimes I wish they would just establish and I could just fall into that establishment, because waiting on the Lord to lead and give vision is difficult a lot of the times. Something I've appreciated about these guys, including Chris, I get to work with him every day, which is incredible. He encourages me and bugs me half the time, but I love it about him. And then these guys, when we've met over the past several months, some things that they asked lots of why questions, which is good for me. One of them actually said, and this phrase stuck with me, my preference is this, but I choose to press into the mission. And that really stuck with me when we were talking about what New Heights needs to look like as we move forward. Like, you know what, I have lots of preferences, but what is the mission? And if we know what the mission is and we have the vision, we're going to be able to accomplish incredible things for the kingdom as a fellowship here in Siloam Springs. So these are potential elders. We'll kind of walk through the rest of that in the next month or two ahead of what that looks like. I'm excited that you guys get to see who these people are that the Lord has placed here. And I think if you haven't heard this, they don't feel like that they're like up here and you're down here. It's not that at all, that we are here. And as far as elders go at New Heights, that is a role that only males can fill. Every other role inside New Heights, deacons, teacher, leader, server, all those kind of things are wide open across the body. And so we're excited. I'm excited to have these guys, because I literally feel like I can lean on these guys, and that's been so encouraging to me. And I'm excited as we move even more forward. So thank you guys. So I'm going to keep you down here because we're going to recognize our JBU college graduates, and you guys are going to each kind of stand with one of them. So if you're graduating, not JBU, but any college, probably JBU if you're here, come on down here. We're going to switch gears. If you are graduating, come on, don't be shy. Come on down. All right. And if you even graduated in December and we missed you, you're welcome to do that as well. But Okay, so we have Anna and Michaela. You guys gather around. Where's that mic? Chris, let these introduce themselves and kind of what your plans are. I think a lot of...
If you have some more classes this summer. to finish
Oh,
us.
there she is. Come on in, Johanna.
He bugs me too.
It's his job.
I am going to graduate. I'm Michaela Wilson, and I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma originally. And yeah, I'll be graduating this week, so that's exciting.
With what?
Oh yeah. I'll be graduating with my major in Christian ministries, and my focuses have been throughout my years here have been within youth ministry, worship arts, and intercultural studies.
And then you're heading out in just a few weeks, right?
Yeah, so I stay in town for a week after graduation, pack up my apartment, say goodbyes, and then I will be going home to Tulsa for a month, be with family, and spend some time there with them, much needed time, before I head out. I leave the end of June for YWAM in New Zealand, and I'll be there for about 5-6 months and get back in December. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, I'm Anna McLaughlin. I'm a missionary kid from Ethiopia, and I'm graduating with a business management degree. My plans for after I graduate will be to work for Tacos for Life, hopefully as an assistant leader in Fort Smith as we open a store down there. But yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Johanna Orweiler, and I'm a senior at JBU.
That's good. You're in the right place.
Good, okay, established. Okay, I'm from Thailand. I will be graduating with a degree in digital cinema. And if you have time tonight, come to the JBU BPAC and watch the cinema screenings there at 7 p.m. That'll be rad. After graduation, I'm going to be sticking around in Siloam for a couple months and working at Poor John's, and hopefully after that, going back to Thailand to work in ministry there.
Wow. Okay. All right. All right. So at this time, if you are in community group with any of these, I want to invite you down as well as we pray over them. If you've been in a community group both now and in the past, so we can say, I know some of you guys, I don't know what the holdup is. Come on, don't be shy. We're going to surround. You guys are all three in the same community group? Wow, that was unfairly, you're the leader. That was unfairly stacked. Okay. So Chris, if you'll just pray over these ladies as they move out, and then we'll go on.
Jesus, we just thank you for just moments and accomplishments that you allow us to walk through, and stakes that get placed in the ground in our lives, Lord. And I just pray for these three precious ladies, Lord. And they've brought so much life and even experience at their young age into the life of this fellowship. And so we're very grateful for the time and the relationships that have been formed here, Lord. And you already have the plans of their lives laid out for them to walk out in obedience to you, Lord. And these three ladies, I know, have been doing that, Lord. And so we just ask that your favor and grace would continue to rest upon them, Lord, as they have some unknowns sitting in the future, Lord, and that they would continue to rely on you, and you have proven yourself so faithful to them over and over again, Lord. And so let us lift them up and encourage them and continue to support them as they step out into new places in this world, Lord. And may they continue to bring the hope and love of you to those who've yet to taste and experience your goodness, Jesus. And so we just bless them, and we just thank you for the work that you're doing in them. We ask these in the power of your great name. Amen.
All right. Congratulations, ladies.